Hey everybody, it's Mad Master here. I'm doing a quick video today because I have a shirt on that's been scrunched up so it looks like it needs to be ironed. But anyways, fashion comments aside, I just wanted to talk about today that I think one of the most overused words in the lexicon of American language today is the word grooming. And this is going to be a controversial trigger warning video. And what do I mean by this? I think I've seen it just prop up so many times now. Like there was like some woman that was like in her early 20s. She dated a much older actor, and I know this is kind of a cliche coming from me, like talking about this kind of stuff because I've done it so many times. But she's like, well, like, oh my God, I was groomed into his orbit, and it's like, that's like the left side of overusing the term, you know, of this idea that adults can be groomed in any substantial manner. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't believe it. And I had this ex-girlfriend, ironically, that dated a much older man who essentially took her from me, and he was very abusive and very bizarre. So, like, in a way, I get what they're saying, but like, it just bothers me, like, the overuse of this term. On the flip side, the right wing, you know, is using the term, overusing it as well, about like sex ed and stuff, about the don't say gay stuff. So like, I'm sure there are, like, on libs of TikTok, there's definitely nut jobs out there that want to not necessarily create new recruits, you know, into whatever sexuality or identity that they are in, but definitely want to try to push people, nudge people in that direction, nudge kids in that direction. But do I consider that grooming? The grooming is like a predatory practice, that, as far as doing that, because what happens is it's like love bombing a kid or an adult, if you believe that it can happen with adults, and then, you know, kind of pulling them in and saying all the right things, and then, you know, trying to slowly ease themselves, the person, into the cycle of abuse or whatever. So it bothers me when people use this term to describe adult relationships, for one, because, for one, a woman that's 18 and over, even if they're with a 50-year-old or whatever, that's, you know, obviously, like, kind of questionable from a societal point of view. When I'm 50, I probably won't want an 18-year-old either, you know. I mean, maybe messing around, you know, one night stands and stuff, I could see that happening. Like, oh yeah, if I'm on tour, like a big band like Manowar, I probably did that a bunch, you know. Like, but as far as like a relationship, that's different, an actual relationship. But this whole idea that, you know, a 22-year-old or 25-year-old dating a man of any sort who's more powerful and all this stuff can be groomed in the same way that a kid from a pedophile, is fucking insanely, you know, disingenuous, in my opinion. Where's the culpability of the adult female in that situation, where it's just, you're in a bad abusive relationship at that point? It's not grooming, you know. It's just, you know, why use that term? And then on the flip side, teaching, you know, sex ed to young kids, it you know, we can have a conversation or debate about that, like in Florida. Obviously, that should be debated, but using that terminology and that framework of grooming is disingenuous on that level. So it's one of those overused terms nowadays. And I'm not just doing this because, like, oh, my last girlfriend was 20-something, and I'm just, like, so offended and triggered by that all the time when I think about dating younger women. That's all I do. No, it's not about that. It's more like overused terms in our lexicon. Like, a couple of years back, sociopath. I did a video about this. You can look it up, and it was 2016. Everybody's a sociopath nowadays. Everybody's a sociopath. Or narcissist. Let's overuse these terms when we have no mental health expertise, or it's almost like a slang vernacular that you're using. And I think it's stupid. I think it's detrimental to our society to use overused terms, for people or situations. Groomed. She was groomed because he was 5 years older and he owned the film company. So she was in a relationship with him, but she was groomed. She was just a dumb, naive starlet. She was groomed. She never saw a movie about, never read a book in her life about grooming. She didn't know. She wasn't just some ardent feminist. She was an ardent feminist, but hadn't heard about abusive relationships growing up. She didn't know nothing. She was just an empty vessel. Ugh, yeah, right. No culpability at all. I'm not talking about Weinstein or anything like that. I'm just talking about like seeing it in some stupid blog on The Cut or BuzzFeed or whatever. I was groomed in this relationship. These dumb fucking people that have regrets about relationships. It's okay. It's okay to say someone was an asshole in a relationship, or they're abusive, or they did bad stuff, but just saying you were groomed, like he was a predator, like he was grooming you, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. And then, like I said, on the flip side, calling anything that, there are some weird things, like was that clip of there's some weird stuff they're pushing on kids here and there. There's no doubt, but it's like the right way to take a magnifying glass and look everywhere for it, and then they find it. Of course, they are finding it more nowadays, but to call it grooming is dumb. It's these things do a disservice to people that are actually abused or actually groomed, in my opinion. There's no fucking way that I will believe in a girl that's been reading all these fucking feminist blogs half her life, 25 years old, goes to Hollywood, is attracted to a guy much older, or even not much older, but he's like some kind of head of some studio or something, not Weinstein, or some producer or director, right? This is where I read these articles. And she gets into a legitimate relationship with him because he kind of softens her, or tries to attract her over time, or tries to be friendly with her over time. That's grooming, because he's just some helpless women, WYMYN. Yeah, fuck you. It's so stupid. Responsibility for the responsible, man. It's not happening. People want to blame everything on other people nowadays. It's so dumb. People blaming everything on other people. This pendulum has gone way too far. And there is legitimate abuse. There are legitimate bad relationships. There's legitimate badly bad things. But just saying, grooming. I just see it everywhere. It's just like, shut the fuck up. Grooming. It's like overused bullshit. My mom was a narcissist. I read an article about it on BuzzFeed. Yeah, teetering closely of personal relation. Never mind. But anyways, I read it on BuzzFeed. My mom was a narcissist. Well, my ex-boyfriend was a narcissist. He borderline personality. It's like, even fucking with the Amber Heard thing, it's like, why can't she just be a cunt? Why does she have to be labeled some kind of fucking personality disorder? Maybe he could just an abusive drunk asshole. And on the flip side, just these stupid fucking everything has to be labeled. I'm a millennial. Everything has to be labeled. We're gonna have to put labels, 20 fucking labels on a person. Get on drugs. That's about all.